Across the country, we've seen universities unleash a wave of repression against pro-Palestinian student groups and speech. In the last few weeks, several universities have banned Students for Justice in Palestine and Jewish Voice for Peace, two prominent pro-Palestinian student groups. We've also seen students disciplined merely for attending pro-Palestine protests, and schools adopting definitions of anti-Semitism that conflate anti-Zionism with anti-Jewish hatred. But in the last week, New York University committed one of the most blatant acts of repression yet when they suspended a freshman year student, stripped her of her scholarships, barred her from getting off-campus housing, all for tearing down one of these. So just to get right into it, you tore down these Israeli propaganda posters that were posted on one of the NYU buildings, and someone filmed it. What happened after that?
So after I was filmed tearing down these posters outside of Tisch Hall, a student at NYU circulated the video on social media, and she was calling for us to be doxxed. Shortly after, celebrities, public figures, and Zionist platforms with millions of followers were sharing our information publicly. The student also created a petition, which received over 10,000 signatures to call for the expulsion of everyone in the video. I faced relentless backlash from right-wing media and news outlets for weeks, most calling for me to be jailed, expelled, deported, assaulted, and to be sent to Gaza. NYU refused to cover off-campus housing because I'm on scholarship, so I couldn't really afford to live in New York otherwise. So despite it no longer being safe for me to live in dorms, they denied me access to off-campus housing, and now they're denying me access to higher education.
So just to get this straight, NYU suspended you, took away your scholarship, made it impossible for you to afford housing, all because you tore down a poster.
Mm-hmm. As a part of my scholarship, that would grant me on-campus housing, and so because I was suspended, I would have to move off campus after the semester, essentially kicking me out of the dorms, leaving me unhoused, and also denying me access to any higher education until fall 2024.
Wow.
And they have also restricted my privileges, so I am not able to attend on-campus, off-campus events or participate in any student clubs.
And you're a freshman, right? So this is how your college experience started.
Yes. I just started at NYU in the fall. It was never about what was on the posters. It was about the message that the posters sent. And they are used to justify the genocide that's happening in Gaza right now. After the public outrage, they were plastered 10 times the amount as they were during that video, where it covered the window of this NYU building. These were also unauthorized to be there. And after the public outrage, they started putting blades under the posters. And so people were recording and posting on social media that their hands were bleeding when they were tearing them down. The whole purpose of putting those was to agitate. It was to rile people up.
There have been a lot of attacks on Palestinian student groups across the country, and a lot of these attacks haven't just been coming from the student bodies, but also from these outside entities. So can you speak to if any of these outside groups played a role in pushing this campaign against you?
The biggest factor that led to this suspension, the decision, it was not made by students, it was not made by the Office of Student Code of Conduct, but rather it was made by these powerful, wealthy families, these powerful, wealthy institutions that have pressured NYU and have pressured NYU by demanding that their money would be pulled out if they did not. Under the petition that was calling for me to be expelled along with the other students, people said that they are pulling their donations if NYU does not take disciplinary measures against us. So it's clear that even NYU admits it, that relevant stakeholders and people with wealth and power are the reason why I was suspended. NYU has its own campus in occupied Palestine. They have a school named after Michael Steinhardt, who is vicious and was one of the founders of Birthright. They also have a school named after the Tish family, which they projected images of hostages onto our buildings after the posters were torn down. And they have donated a huge amount of money to this university. So we have Larry Fink, BlackRock CEO, on our board of trustees as well. And so it's a play of power here.